Howdy y'all, welcome back to Rat's Nest Hot Rods. I found the missing footage from that last video, and what we're doing here is working on a 2007 Chevrolet Suburban, and we're pushing a dent out and fixing a bunch of dings and scratches on the other side. This video will contain me obviously pushing this dent out, and then we'll be doing plenty of priming and repriming and not being happy with the result and resanding, and then finally getting it into paint towards the end and mounted back on the Suburban. The end result came out really well. I did have some issues during the process, but good thing about this stuff is you keep trying and it'll eventually get there. So I'll speed this up, play some music, and y'all have a good time and watch. We've just finished up the flexible Evercoat Polyflex Flexible Polyester Glazing Putty application. Well, that was a mouthful. It's a body filler. I showed it in the last video also. Made by Evercoat. It's called Polyflex. It's made especially for plastics and things that have to flex a little bit, so it works really good. We're going to knock this down with a DA. Best we can, and then we'll be moving into some priming and sanding and all that good stuff. Here comes some more music.
Look at me, my smile is shining bright. I got the prettiest girl in the world.
If you saw part one, you'll remember there was a tear / crack up in this corner area where it goes into the grill mount and attaches to the bumper. And that is the Evercoat Multi-fix, 2-part epoxy in there, and I needed the Dremel kind of to shape that curve. It worked out really well. And back to the music.
I know a girl, she lives in the city. When she comes around, she treats me shitty. But oh, she's so damn pretty. Oh, she's so damn pretty.
As you saw, there was a few mistakes that I made and had to redo there, adding more filler and hitting everything with a high build primer, and then pretty much sanding it all off and seeing some things that needed some extra work. Going to use some Prep All to clean this plastic off. I think it works really good for plastics. There it is. Pick it up at my local paint supply house, give it a good clean, and then we're going to move into another bit of high build sealer and some more urethane sealer on that, and then I'm going to see some more things that I don't like and sand that all back down. So let's listen to some music so I feel better about myself. A little adhesion promoter on that plastic, and now we're going to hit it with a urethane high build sealer. You'll notice here I ran out of that first kind of urethane high build and had to finish it off with a completely different color. All works the same, right? So we're gonna get this on here, and then I'm going to have another vision of that old dent still lingering over on the driver's side, and we're gonna have to take care of that and sand a portion of it back down. What you'll see here is I marked out the areas that I noticed when the sealer was wet. I could see these quite clearly, these high spots. So I'm going to heat it up again, kind of ruin the primer in spots, and then sand that back down. I figured this was the best way. I could have added more filler or done something like that, but it's plastic. I'll take my lumps and get this pushed back in, and we'll get back at the sanding. This is the step that I skipped. I should have got out the block and sanded this like I would on a big heavy metal car. This would have shown me those areas that I couldn't see with the DA because everything's kind of curving there. So if you do something like this, don't skip a step like I did, or you'll be doing this again and again. But that's how I learn the best, making mistakes and then having to fix them. high build in a different color because that's sticking with how I've done this whole project. And we're going to do some wet sanding with some 400 grit and then get some base coat on it. Stay tuned.
Miss you every day and it ain't getting better. Stuck here without you. So far away as I read your letters. I got the homesick blues. I've been thinking about the cold, cold weather. Walking down the avenue. I've been thinking how I could just forget it. Head on back to you. Miss you every day and it ain't getting better. Stuck here without you. So far away as I read your letters. I got the homesick blues. So far away as I read your letters. I got the homesick blues.
Final coat of sealer down, I promise. And we're going to shoot some base coat. I used my finish line, DeVilbiss finish line gun. That's a FLG4. This has got a 1.3 tip in it. And we're going to lay down 3 coats of this black and then work into the clear coat. Not a big fan of this gun. I've had it for a long time and it's a good all-around kind of a beginner's gun. But when you use the same needle for 4 different caps and orifice sizes, it gets a little weird because you gotta run the dial in on the back of the gun to put the needle in the right spot. So as opposed to a gun that's got a needle and a cap, and they go together. So it's a little different. It gets the job done, and it just takes a little getting used to. But if you're one of those guys that you're going to do 1 or 2 paint jobs, this would be a good gun for you. But just take your time in your setup.
From thrift store to Matic thrift store, the clerks all know our name. They know that we are scientists, they know we're heading up to space. We need some broken computers, some 80s cell phones and some paint. We'll bring along a ghetto blaster to track the progress that we made. And
Time for a little tack rag and then the clear coat. We'll knock down 2 coats on this and call it a day. I do paint in my garage a lot, and that poses some problems. I know some guys set up crazy paint booths and all that, and I will do that when I paint the Cadillac. It'll be a little bit more robust, as they say. But I was able to polish any dirt nibs and things out of there that came as a result of painting in my garage on this one. So back with the DeVilbiss finish line gun, changed the cap, and actually different gun body also, but it's still an FLG4 that I use just for clear. And yeah, sit tight. We're almost done. We'll get this bolted on the car, and I'll let you go back to your life.
all day we're in the backyard, welding on the fuselage. But every night we gotta tear it down and stash it in the garage. Cause we cannot trip the fuzz, we can't have the authorities catching on. They'll see our thrusters burning, by the time they show up we'll be gone. And I
spared you some time in watching me wet sand with 1000 grit to get the dirt nibs out and one run, and now we're going to hit it with our little 3-inch buffing wheel, one final pass, and we'll get this sucker bolted on the car.
In the tabloids, we'll have to do some interviews about machines made out of broken glass and amazing things that they can do. And I ain't afraid.
Okay guys, sorry this was so long, but I didn't want to break it into a third part and have to break it somewhere where I put primer on and then was going to have to sand it off in the next episode and then put more primer on and sand that off and get it to a final point. So we threw it all in one video. I hope that's okay with you guys. The two bands that play in all of my videos are here in Seattle, Washington. The one group is called Mountain Con and the other one is called the Whiskey Club. Both excellent, and they sure do make my videos a lot better. They're friends of mine in those bands, and I really do appreciate them letting me use the music. I also would be remiss if I didn't thank everybody that's been watching the videos and liking and subscribing, making comments, asking questions. I really do thoroughly enjoy that. I hope this video was helpful for everybody and maybe you learned something from it. I know I did, and that would be treat it like anything else and take your time. Okay guys, peace and grease, sucker.